I thought that working for 15 years in a professional kitchen had just about broken me. But then I realised that those 80-hour weeks were the perfect training ground for freelance. So here are 5 brutal kitchen lessons that I learned that helped build my freelance filmmaking career. Lesson number 1, preparation equals respect. So one of my jobs in the kitchen was on a Friday night. I came in at 2 o'clock, and for the next 3 hours, I set everything up front and back of the kitchen so that it was all ready to go when we started service at 5. Then come 5 o'clock, all the other chefs would come in, they'd get their aprons on and they would get into their positions, and everything that they needed would be laid out perfectly, which means they could stand and they could pretty much do everything they needed to do without moving around. And I started to take it as a real source of pride that when these guys arrived, everything was ready for them. It was like they were ready to go. And they would look at me with a certain amount of respect, as if saying like, thanks for that, you made it much easier. And then when I started to shoot my own films for clients, and it was just me I had to answer to, I treated it with that same amount of preparation because I knew that when I get there on the day, there's quite a lot to do. I have to record sound, I have to light, and I have to shoot 2 cameras sometimes, and I have to direct. And I also have a client vision in my head, plus I have a front-facing me who has to speak to the client as well as speak to anyone else that we're filming. So for me, it became like a similar thing. Make sure that everything's ready to go. Not only is all the batteries charged and all the cameras are set on the right setting, everything's ready to just plug and play. But not only that, I have already spoke to the client in detail about what exactly we're doing, and if we've not scripted, we've at least storyboarded something, and I have a shot list. It gets the same look that I used to get from my fellow chefs, from my clients. Lesson number 2, hard work is a given. When I was 13, that's when I first started working in the kitchen. I was eager to learn, and I was just washing dishes, but quite quickly, the chefs that I was working with, they realized that I was willing to just do whatever they asked and do it to the best of my ability, which meant that quite quickly they would bump me up and give me extra jobs cutting veg or prepping the breakfast. So quite quickly I went from kitchen porter to commie chef, and it was all down to the fact that it doesn't matter how much you know about what you're doing, if you approach it 100% effort, you're going to get far because people will see that in you and they'll say, this guy is willing to learn, he's willing to do the work. You'll move forward quicker. Fast forward a few years, I started working on film sets and I was on a camera team. And to me, the camera team was a little bit like a kitchen. I was looking around at the guys going, okay, all they want to see is that I'm ready. If they need something, I'm there either with it or ready to find out what it is so I can run and get it for them. And that became a really good basis for me to move up the ranks again, just like I did in the kitchen, but now on a film set. Lesson number 3. Accountability is what actually creates freedom. What am I trying to say with this one? Basically, when I worked for someone else, I used to show up after partying all night. I would hide in the back and I would do my work and I would make sure that the things that I was responsible were fine, and then I would pass them off and the head chef would take over. That was basically my life. When I became self-employed and I became in charge of everything that I made and that I served up to my clients, I got this real feeling of freedom. When you're in charge of the whole product and the only person who's accountable for that end product is you, not only do you feel a responsibility, but you also feel a freedom in that, because then you can do whatever you want with it. When I was in the kitchen, I used to always disagree with how they made the pakoras. And one time I tried to change it and I put all my own ingredients and made a batch, and the head chef was really pissed off because it was probably about 80 pence more per portion that I was costing the restaurant. That kind of bred in me a bit of a, oh well, what's the fucking point? Do you know what I mean? What's the point? I'll just do how they say it and I'll just pass it over and they can fucking deal with it. Now, I'm in charge of exactly what goes out, and I clear it with my clients first, but they get on board because they feel the vibe from me. They say, all right, this guy knows what he's doing, I'm going to trust him. And it's been one of the biggest revelations that I've ever had in my working life was once you get the accountability, you get the freedom, you get the responsibility, and it gives you satisfaction. And that's what we want out of life, is it not? Pressure reveals systems, not character. Lesson 4. We've all worked with someone who is a stress head. And in a kitchen, it's like, it's kind of like hand in hand with kitchen service. There's always someone who is mega stressed out, ruining it for everyone else, making everyone anxious, making everyone scared to do the wrong thing. I've always hated that. And one of the things that I would do to get by that was my preparation at the start and just a general system. The systems that we would have in the kitchen would be, okay, the calmest person is in charge of the pass. Usually it's the head chef. They're in charge of the pass, they're in charge of all the checks, and they decide who does what when, and their calming influence can flow out through the rest of the kitchen and make everyone else feel that. And using the systems in place, salad person, desserts person, pastry chef, however your kitchen works, those systems are designed to alleviate the stresses. And there's a similar way to work within my work. What is it? Sometimes I go into shoots and I'm a bit like, oh, you know, my kids were up all last night, or, you know, I've forgotten this, but I don't want them to know about it. I'm not gonna project it. I'm just gonna deal with it. I'm gonna shoot the way that I normally shoot, get my A-roll 2 cams so I'm covered, get my B-roll, but get my B-roll after I've spoke to the interview if possible, so that I know exactly what it is that I should be shooting. And so with that system in place, I can remain calm. And calmness creates authority, and it also creates customers who want to come back and pay you again. And that's what it's all about. You got to keep that train rolling, baby. And lesson number 5, this one's a bit personal for me. There are no medals for suffering, all right? Kitchens are one of the worst environments for people who are just killing themselves 80 hours a week, just sweating, getting burnt, getting cut, getting shouted at, getting things wrong, having to do things really fast. It's a prime breeding ground for that kind of suffering. And we used to look upon that as like, well, the harder shift that you'd had in the day, the harder you would drink that night. Therefore, the harder day you would have the next day when you were hungover and you only had 2 hours sleep. And it all became a kind of like, we can do it, badge of honor. Now, I've worked on movies and big TV shows, and there is a similar kind of thing that goes on in those environments. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about my own little business where I do all the work and I speak to my clients. I hire 1 or 2 extra people to help me out, but basically it's just me. I retain control of how everything goes. So there's no suffering. I've not had a hard shoot for quite a long time. I'm not even exaggerating. It's one of the reasons why I decided to start sharing the way that I do things, is because somehow I've managed to find myself in a situation where most of my jobs are just like easy, and they pay well and I enjoy them. Coming from a kitchen and realizing that is what it can be like. Granted, if I was to push really hard and try and break 100K a year, it might get like that, but I wouldn't allow it, because I'm 40 now. I'm 41 actually. If I wanted to do a stressful job, I wouldn't be doing this career that I've got now. I'm in charge now. I decide how it goes. And if it doesn't work for me, I'm not doing it. And I will tell a client that, because guess what? Most clients don't want to stress either. They don't want to suffer. They want to come on the shoot that day for a jolly, because it's a day out of the office for them. It's good for them. It's good for you. I would definitely say that there is still no medal for suffering, and I learned that the hard way, and so I stopped trying to compete for that medal. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you've learned something about my perspective going from one career to another. If you did and you want to hear more things like that, I probably will do that. I probably will do more things like that, so hit subscribe, and then, I don't know, you might see it. YouTube might show you it, it might not. Either way, I appreciate you being here for the end of this video, because no one ever stays till the end.